and welcome to the Lancaster County Board of Commissioners meeting for Tuesday, October 16th. For introduction purposes, my name is Todd Wilchin. I am the County Board Chair this year. On my left, fellow Commissioner Deb Shore. On my right, fellow Commissioner Bill Avery. Commissioners Roma Amundsen and the Vice Chair, Commissioner Jennifer Brinkman, will not be joining us this morning. Joining us from the County Attorney's Office is Jen Holloway. From the County Clerk's Office, we have the County Clerk Dan Nolte and Monet McCollum. From the County Board Office, we have the Chief Administrative Officer, Carrie Egan, and the Deputy Chief Administrative Officer, Ann Ames. Now, if you please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Clerk, would you please start the agenda?
A copy of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act is located on the wall at the rear of the hearing room. Additionally, a copy of all written material to be discussed at today's open meeting is available from the county clerk's staff at the front of the hearing room. The material can also be viewed on the county's website at lancaster.ne.gov. Agenda item 1 are minutes. Approval of the minutes of the Board of Commissioners meeting held on Tuesday, October 9th, 2018.
Move approval.
Second. Any discussion or corrections? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Avery?
Yes.
Shore?
Abstain.
Wilchin?
Yes.
Motion carries 2 yes, 1 abstention. Next is approval of the minutes of the 1 and 6 year road and bridge improvement program public hearing held on Tuesday, October 9th, 2018.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the 1 and 6 road and bridge improvement program public hearing. Any discussion or corrections? Please call the roll.
Shore?
Yes.
Avery?
Abstain.
Wilchin?
Yes.
Motion carries 2 yes, 1 abstention. Next is number 2, claims, approval of claims process through October 16th, 2018.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve all claims processed through today. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Shore?
Yes.
Avery?
Yes.
Wilchin?
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. Next is new business. 3A is a resolution in the matter of amending the policy governing the expenditure of public funds for payment or reimbursement of actual and necessary expenses incurred by county elected officials, appointed officials, employees, and volunteers.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the amendments to the policy governing the expenditure of public funds. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Avery?
Yes.
Shore?
Yes.
Wilchin?
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. 3B is an addendum to County Contract C-16-649, amending the Visitors Improvement Fund grant contract, providing a grant of $2,810,000 with the Lancaster County Agricultural Society for the National High School Rodeo Finals. The addendum adjusts the completion dates for the phases of the grant project and changes the amount due under phases 1 and 2.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I guess I would invite Amy to come up and give us just an update on the status of the construction out at the event center.
Good morning, Amy Dickerson, Managing Director at Lancaster Event Center. Good to see everybody. This grant contract is just being revised to kind of affect the reality of the start of the project. $3 million was originally approved, including $190 from the previous grant from the lodging tax funds to do improvements out at Lancaster Event Center to get ready for the National High School Finals Rodeo coming out in July 2020 and 2021. It's mainly grounds improvements. We have plenty of buildings for them, but we do need to add about 1,000 campsites, add water to our existing 200 sites, expand our arena with a covered 3,500 person grandstand, a little internal driveways along with that. So We are well along on the construction after getting some design done and contracts and that kind of thing. It's typical construction. It always takes longer to get started, and once you get started, it gets going faster than you think. So we're well on schedule. And actually just had your chair, Todd Wilchin was out with us last Friday. The executive board was out from the rodeo, and we had a good, successful visit. They're feeling very good about completion. We're on track to have the campground. We're self-installing the water and electric to save money, actually, with our own master electrician and plumber, and we're got that started, and we're on track to be done by the spring, and we'll be looking at a lot of seating to do, because if you come out to the event center right now, you can see there was a lot of grading done front and back to be ready. So well on track, and this is the contract is just being amended to kind of reflect the reality of we spent a little slower at the beginning and then transferred the funds from the previous into the second phase, and just updating the completion dates to be lined up with the fiscal years, which is how it was always budgeted by your budget officer.
Excellent. For that update, thank you for providing it. Any questions? Oh, Mr. Egan.
I thought we were going to have signed contracts today from the Agricultural Society, but apparently they have not approved it yet. So if you do approve it, it would be subject to approval by the Agricultural Society.
It's not that it doesn't need to be approved, it just needs to be signed by our board chair, and just haven't been able to get that done yet. So with the visit on Friday.
Okay.
So just a formality.
So the Ag Society Board has approved the contract, it just hasn't been signed?
The board doesn't need to approve it. It's consistent with what it is. I just need to print 2 copies and get it in front of our board president. So.
Okay.
So we don't have copies to sign today.
No, you don't.
Okay, so
We might just want to hold this till next week.
Okay, if that's what you have to do.
Yeah. We will do that.
Yeah, I apologize. With the flurry of activities last week, we didn't get the copies done.
Okay.
Yeah.
We will go ahead and hold this over. I guess, would you withdraw the motion?
yes.
And would you withdraw the second?
Yes.
Okay.
Apologize, I didn't understand that it had to physically be here, so we'll get that taken care of for next week.
Okay.
All right, thank you so much. We appreciate all the support.
Okay, we'll go ahead and withdraw the motion on the second, approving that contract amendment. Can we move on to the next item?
3C is a labor agreement with Fraternal Order of Police Lodge Number 32 for a 2-year period beginning August 16, 2018.
Morning, Commissioners. Doug McDaniel, Human Resources. This is a 2-year labor agreement with FOP 32. Represents the corrections officers for Lancaster County Corrections. To summarize the agreement, a number of operational language changes took place. Nothing of real consequence to the board necessarily, but certainly helps the management of the corrections department. Economically, there's a 3.25% wage increase for year 1 and a 3.0% increase for year 2. The increased retirement match that the board had previously approved.
I will move approval of the labor agreement.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the labor agreement with the Fraternal Order of Police Lodge Number 32. Any discussion? I just want to thank the Human Resources Department and Mr. McDaniel for their work on the negotiations for our labor contracts.
Well, thank you, sir.
With that,
MS Systems upgrade to Accurate Control, Inc. The total amount of the order is $80,052.96.
Good morning. As you guys may remember, we talked about this during my budget presentation, I think in April or so. Essentially, this is a project to upgrade our video security system. It's currently recorded on, I think if I remember right, 28 different DVRs, which basically use hard drives to record all that video. Presently, there's no backup system for that at all, so if one of those DVRs fails or is corrupted, we lose the recording for 16 cameras for as much as 30 days going historically. So this new system essentially moves that from DVR recording onto a server type recording, so we have a backup system. And it gives us the ability to maybe, depending on how much memory is purchased, extend the recording times, as well as gives us the opportunity going forward to maybe improve the resolution and quality of the video as well. And I'll point out that the actual funds is coming from savings from our last year's budget that we carried over to help pay for this. So,
Any questions? Commissioner Avery?
I don't know if you can answer this or not, Brad, but what did we do to provide that kind of surveillance before we had digitalized cameras and computer systems?
well, at the old jail before this one was built, it was done on DVRs as well. So this, the DVR system is something that's kind of getting antiquated and outdated, and we're just trying to make it a little bit more modern. Prior to that, before the DVR system at the old jail was brought in, there was no recording. It was just live monitoring. We had one camera in the booking area that was recorded, and that was done via VHS. And every 4 hours, you had to go in and swap out the tape. So that's what we used to do, and we're trying to.
And before the VHS,
We didn't record.
you didn't record.
I will move approval of the recommendation for the contract.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the recommendation to award a sole source contract to Phase 1 VMS systems upgrade to Accurate Controls. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Avery,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0.
Thanks, Brad.
E is an interlocal agreement with the City of Waverly for 3 sheriff's deputies for law enforcement services within the corporate limits of the City of Waverly. Waverly will pay the county $27,640 per month. The term of the agreement is from October 1st, 2018 through September 30th, 2019.
Good morning, Terry Wagner, Lancaster County Sheriff. This is a continuation of an interlocal agreement we've had with Waverly since before my time on the Sheriff's Office, and I've been around a long time. So I think since about 1973, Waverly has contracted with the Sheriff's Office for dedicated law enforcement services, and this is a continuation of that contract.
Thank you for that explanation. Any questions? I just have a couple, just because it's campaign season. I've been out in Waverly quite a bit, and I've talked to a lot of residents who have concerns about the traffic along Amberley Road, 148th, and Bluff Road. And so because I know that, how our relationship is with the city, who makes the decision on how to enforce the traffic?
Well,
in the city?
it's a joint decision. We get input from the city. We get citizens' calls as well about the hazards on Amberley and on 148th Street and on Bluff. So we take all those things into consideration and try to develop an enforcement strategy to coincide with that.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you for the information. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
We don't have a motion yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the interlocal agreement with the City of Waverly for law enforcement services through the Sheriff's Office. Any additional discussion? Please call the roll.
Avery,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. F is a mini grant contract application and award with the Nebraska Office of Highway Safety to pay overtime in the amount of $5,090 for the click it or ticket mobilization.
Good morning, Terry Wagner, Lancaster County Sheriff. Both F for the Click It or Ticket campaign and G, the You Drink, You Drive, or Lose campaign, are highway safety initiatives that we participate in every year. The Click It or Ticket mobilization usually runs around the Thanksgiving holiday, and the You Drink, You Drive, or Lose runs around the Christmas holiday. So we have participated in this for a number of years, and these contracts reimburse us for the overtime that we expend for enforcement actions.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the mini grant contract application and award with the Nebraska Office of Highway Safety for the click it or ticket mobilization. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Avery,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. G is a mini grant contract application and award with the Nebraska Office of Highway Safety to pay overtime in the amount of $5,794.80 for the You Drink and You Drive, You Lose initiative.
Move approval. Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Avery and a second from Commissioner Shore to approve the mini grant contract application and award with the Nebraska Office of Highway Safety for the You Drink, You Drive, You Lose initiative. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Avery,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. H is an agreement with the Child Advocacy Center to conduct interviews and medical examinations of child abuse victims to aid law enforcement and prosecutors in investigation of child abuse. The county will pay $20,000 for the service. The term of the agreement is from October 1st, 2018 through September 30th, 2019.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the agreement with the Child Advocacy Center. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Shore,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. 3I is a contract between Tamara Jo Dirks, MS, LMHP, CPC, LADC, and Lancaster County on behalf of the Lancaster County Mental Health Crisis Center for certified alcohol and drug abuse counselor services. The services will be provided at the rate of $85 per evaluation completed and $32 per hour for other services. The term of the contract is from September 1st, 2018 through August 31st, 2019.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the contract with Tamara Jo Dirks. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Shore,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. J is a cooperative agreement with the U.S. Department of Interior U.S. Geological Survey for joint funding of water resources investigations. The agreement is for the operation and computation of records for 4 stream flow gauging stations, which are Salt Creek, Little Salt Creek near Lincoln, Stevens Creek near Lincoln, and Rock Creek near Ceresco. The county will pay $12,900 for the services. The term of the agreement is from October 1st, 2018 through September 30th, 2019.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the cooperative agreement with the U.S. Department of Interior, U.S. Geological Survey. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Avery,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. 3K is a recommendation from the purchasing agent and Lancaster County engineer to award and execute a purchase order for 4 2018 or current production year Ford XLT 3/4 ton E85 extended cab trucks using the State of Nebraska contract 14653OC to Sid Dillon Ford, Inc. The total amount of the order is $158,548.
Morning, Ken Schroeder, Lancaster County Engineering Department. These are for 4 trucks for our district supervisors, and they include snow plow equipment, which is greatly needed for the additional subdivision and maintenance that we're taking on. The existing trucks for the supervisors will be passed down to their assistants, and it's budgeted for it in this year, so if you have any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Schroeder?
These
Commissioner
are
Avery?
brand new trucks.
Yes.
And it looks to me like, I'm not a truck guy myself, but it looks like that we are buying the top of the line, most expensive pickup truck on the market.
I guess they were bid and equipped to handle the duties that are going to be asked of them. They're heavy duty because they are coming equipped with the snowplow equipment. Whereas before, a lot of times when we implement snowplow equipment on some of the trucks, the suspension has to be beefed up. And so as far as if they're the most expensive, I would imagine that it went through the bid process and we got the best price for the equipment that was needed.
What about those tired trucks that you are handing down to the assistant supervisors? How old are they?
I don't have those figures, but I know that there's approximately 8 vehicles that we're going to be getting rid of. It's just kind of a progression down to keep them in use. Some of them are nearly 200,000 in mileage and anywhere from 20 to 25 years old. So
Okay.
So it's
we
like
keep
my
them
vehicle.
for quite a while.
Well, and looking at the actual requisition form, the base cost per unit is $30,204. And really the added expense comes on the snow plow attachment and all the additional upgrades that need to be done in order to support the added weight of a blade and the actual, like you said, the suspension. That's where I think the added cost comes.
Mm-hmm.
It's through the equipment that we add to allow them to be able to be used as a
Yeah, when they
small
come, they'll be
snowplow.
ready for use for
Yeah.
what we need them for.
Thanks,
They
Mr. Shorter.
will be equipped to take ethanol?
We'll have to get back with you on that. I'm not sure.
It
I didn't
looks
research
like
that
to
out.
me it will take a E85.
It says on the agenda that it's E85, so.
But they don't identify it as ethanol rating.
Yeah, on the actual requisition form, it's line 2, it's E85, a 3/4 ton extended cab. So yeah, that indicates that it would be able to use ethanol. So,
Motion. Move approval?
Second?
okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the recommendation to award and execute the purchase order for 4 Ford XLT 3/4 ton E85 extended cab trucks. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Shore,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. L is an agreement with Shimmer Associates, Inc. for survey design, plan preparation, and permitting services of Lancaster County bridges W-122, W-164, and W-174. The anticipated completion date is January 25th, 2019. The cost of the county is $80,000.
Controller County Engineering Department. Just a map to show where they're located. These were budgeted for, and our hopes are through the survey and hydrology study by the engineering firms that we're going to be able to have these designed to be box culverts instead of bridges. These are old bridges that were probably the WPA era, so.
Any questions for Mr. Schroeder?
If my question was, will they be done this construction season, the answer will be no.
This is the design and
So
the
spring.
beginning part of getting it constructed.
Spring.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Hopefully.
Any additional questions? Entertain a motion.
Move approval?
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the agreement with Shimmer Associates. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Shore,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. 3M is agreement with JEO Consulting Group, Inc. for survey, design, plan preparation, and permitting services of Lancaster County bridges F-78, F-82, and F-86. The anticipated completion date is January 25th, 2019. The cost of county is $95,000.
Controller County Engineering Department. Here's a map showing the location of those. It's real similar to the ones previous. This is a little more complex in that they're on paved roads, so higher traffic counts.
These are on the North 14th.
North 14th Street.
Yeah, that we've been talking about, and I think we talked about it last week on the 1 and 6. So,
Move approval?
Second?
okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the agreement with JEO Consulting Group. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Avery,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. N is a grant contract with Girl Scouts Spirit of Nebraska in the amount of $21,356 for the Lincoln Refugee Outreach Program. The contract is funded by the Nebraska Commission on Law Enforcement and Criminal Justice Juvenile Services Grant for the period of July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2019.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the grant contract with Girl Scouts Spirit of Nebraska. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Avery,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. O is a grant contract with Lincoln Public Schools in amount of $272,422 for the Truancy Diversion Program through the Nebraska Commission on Law Enforcement and Criminal Justice Community-Based Juvenile Services Aid Grant. The term of the grant contract is July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2019.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the grant contract with LPS for the Truancy Diversion Program. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Shore,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. Next is number 4, consent items. Amendments to the following contracts. County Contract C-17-858 with Vulcan Signs for annual supply traffic sign faces. The amendment renews the contract from November 7th, 2018 through November 6th, 2019. The cost of the county shall not exceed $18,000. County Contract C-15-586 with McKesson Medical Surgical Minnesota Supply, Inc. for annual requirements exam gloves. The amendment renews the contract from November 10th, 2018 through November 9th, 2019. The cost of the county shall not exceed $8,000. County Contract C-15-576 with MMS, a medical supply company, for annual requirements exam gloves. The amendment renews the contract from November 3rd, 2018 through November 2nd, 2019. The cost of the county shall not exceed $12,000. County Contract C-15-149 between Redwood Toxicology Laboratory, Inc. and Lancaster County using the state of Minnesota MMCAP contract number MMS14033 for drug and alcohol screening products. The amendment renews the contract from October 1st, 2018 through September 30th, 2019. The estimated cost of the county is not to exceed $30,000. County Contract C-17-860 with Page Freezer Software, Inc. for the Lancaster County Social Media Archive Services. The amendment renews the contract from November 7th, 2018 through November 6th, 2019. The estimated cost of the county is not to exceed $6,000.
Move approval of the consent items.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent items. Any discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Shore,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. Number 5 is public comment. Those wishing to speak on items relating to county business, non-agenda, may do so at this time.
Okay, anyone from the public in the audience wishing to speak on an item related to county business but not on the agenda? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, would you please continue with the announcements?
The Lancaster County Board of Commissioners will hold a staff meeting on Thursday, October 18th, 2018 at 8:30 a.m. in the Bell Luxford Studio at the County City Building. The Lancaster County Board of Commissioners will hold its next regular meeting on Tuesday, October 23rd, 2018 at 9 a.m. in room 112 of the County City Building. County Commissioners can be reached at 402-441-7447 or commish@lancaster.ne.gov. The Lancaster County Board of Commissioners meeting is broadcast live on Link TV City. For the rebroadcast schedule, visit lincoln.ne.gov. Meetings are also streamed live on Link TV and can be viewed on YouTube.
Move we adjourn.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. Please call the roll.
Avery,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0.
Okay, that concludes the county board meeting. I'm going to go ahead and start the agenda for the Board of Equalization. Mr. Clerk, would you please start the agenda?
A copy of the Russell Open Meetings Act is located on the wall at the rear of the hearing room. Additionally, a copy of all written material to be discussed at today's open meeting is available from the county clerk's staff at the front of the hearing room. The material can also be viewed on the county's website at lancaster.ne.gov. Agenda item 1 are minutes. Approve the minutes of the Board of Equalization meeting held on Tuesday, October 9th, 2018.
Move approval.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the last Board of Equalization meeting held last Tuesday. Any discussion or corrections? Please call the roll.
Avery,
Abstain.
Shore,
Abstain.
No.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Motion fails, 1 yes, 2 abstentions.
Okay, we'll go ahead and hold this over to the next Board of Equalization meeting.
Next is number 2, additions and deductions to the tax assessment rolls.
Move approval of the additions and deductions.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the additions and deductions to the tax assessment rolls. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Shore,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. Number 3 is notice of taxable status for Raymond Central Public School District number 161.
Good morning, Scott Gaines, Deputy Assessor, Register of Deeds. This is a parcel that was acquired by Raymond Central School District. They've notified us that they don't intend to use it for any educational purposes at the current time. It's property that's going to remain farmed and leased to a farmer. This is just a notice to make it clear to them it'll remain taxable until they convert it to a school purpose.
Thank you for that explanation. Commissioner Shore has a
Is it
question.
adjoining their current facility, or is this for future? It is
It
adjoining?
is.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Gaines? I entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the notice of taxable status for Raymond Central Public School District, number 161. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Shore,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. Next, we have 2 public hearings. First one is motor vehicle tax exemption applications for Community Action Partnership of Lancaster and Saunders County and New Bethel Bible Way Apostolic Temple Church.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and open up the public hearing for the motor vehicle tax exemption applications. Anyone here wishing to testify in support, in opposition, or in the neutral capacity on these applications? Seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing for the motor vehicle tax exemption applications. Mr. Clerk, would you please see the correlating item number 5?
This would be action on motor vehicle tax exemption applications.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the motor vehicle tax exemption applications. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Avery,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. Next is 4B, notice of proposed change in exemption status for Indian Hills Community Church and Developmental Services of Nebraska, Inc.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing for the notice of proposed change in exemption status.
Do you solemnly swear affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. These are 2 parcels that were previously exempt, have sold to taxable entities, simply giving notice that they will be taxable now.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. Any questions for Mr. Gaines?
So our recommendation is for you to make a motion to make these taxable.
Okay. Thank you for that information. Anyone from the public wishing to testify in support, in opposition, or in the neutral capacity on these notices of proposed change in exemption status? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing and refer to item number 6, Mr. Clerk.
This is action on proposed change in exemption status.
Move approval of the notice and change.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the notice of proposed change in exemption status. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Shore,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. 4C is review of the 2018 exemption application. This is for United Yazidi Community of America, Inc.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and open up the public hearing for the review of the 2018 exemption application. Mr. Gaines?
Do you solemnly swear from the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. This is a previously approved exemption application that the board approved for a cemetery on a 20-acre parcel. Recently, we had an appraiser out in the area, and our recommendation, based on the current circumstances of this parcel, is to continue to exempt the portion of that property that has been converted for cemetery purposes, but to tax the portion. There's about just under 17 acres of this parcel that's currently being farmed and has soybeans growing on it. And we've traded emails with the organization, and there is a farmer that they're allowing to grow beans to, maintain the property. But the current use of that portion of the property is for agricultural purposes and doesn't qualify for exemption. So our recommendation would be to modify the exemption from a full exemption to a partial exemption, taxing the portion used for ag purposes.
And so that information has been communicated with the organization, and they're aware of that?
They're aware, they were notified that there's this meeting being held today, the hearing to discuss the status of the exemption.
Okay. But they were informed that because the part of the parcel that was being used for agriculture would be taxable, because it's still being farmed?
Not per se. We've had communication with them saying, if it's used for ag, it's probably not going to be qualifying for exemption. But formally, they're notified that there's a hearing to discuss the matter, and our recommendation on that matter is to make that portion of the property taxable.
Commissioner Shore?
Do you have any idea of the fiscal impact to the nonprofit agency?
The valuation of the ag land is just under $80,000 in taxable value.
So give that to me in a,
I don't know what the tax rate is out there.
okay.
I mean, if it was 2% like it would be in the city, I'm guessing it's probably lower out there. If it was 2%, you're looking at, what, $1,600?
You need a motion, Mr. Chair.
Right now, we're having a public hearing, and so we're having a staff report. Any other questions for Mr. Gaines?
One more question.
Sure.
Do you have any idea how long ago they were notified?
The clerk's office notifies them. We've exchanged emails with them about the presence of the soybeans and the relationship with the
Okay.
farmer.
Just knowing it's an
probably on the letter.
all-volunteer entity, I just wanted to make sure that the correspondence was accurate. But if you've talked to them, the clerk's office has talked to them.
I know the clerk's office usually gives them at least a 10-day notice prior to this meeting, so
Okay.
I'm guessing it's been at least 2 or 3 weeks
Okay.
ago.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you for that information. Anyone from the public wishing to testify in support or in opposition? Then, yeah, if you would identify yourself and indicate, yeah.
My name is Khalaf Hasso, and
Could we get you to sign in, please? And since this is a public hearing, I'll need to give you an oath. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. My name is Khalaf Hasso, and I'm one of the board members of the organization. And like he said, it is a cemetery, and there are about 8 to 9 people that are buried there. And the farmer across the street, he asked us back in spring if he could plant some beans. And the reason we agreed, because there are a lot of weeds, and he said he will take care of the weeds for us if he plant beans. And it's actually more of I just talked to him this morning, and it's 15 to 16 acres that he planted soybeans. And we didn't know that there's gonna have any complication with our exemption status. So we assumed it was gonna be okay until we get a phone call from the county about 2 or 3 weeks ago, saying what is the land being used for and what is there. So we told them it is used for cemetery, and in the farm across the street has some beans there. So if that's something, there's any conflict, I mean, we're gonna not do it next year, so. But we're not making any money out of it. It's basically just for him to take care of all the weeds around the cemetery.
Thank you for that explanation.
Yeah, no problem.
So I'm assuming you're testifying in opposition to this.
Yes.
Any questions for Mr. Hesso? Commissioner Shore?
Is there sufficient parking outside of the 15 to 16 acres that are now planted in beans?
Yeah, there is actually a parking inside of that. It's
Okay.
Close to an acre of
Okay.
that land is used for parking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Mr. Hesso, the beans that are planted, so the adjacent owner of the farm is farming with the intent to sell the soybeans?
We have no.
You don't have any idea?
We don't have any idea. We don't know how much, if he's making any money. We don't have any.
Yeah. So I think that would be something maybe you want to consult with the county assessor's office and for a better explanation as to what the land use ramifications are.
Sure.
Because as long as the land is being used for a nonprofit for certain activities,
Sure.
then the land would be exempt from property taxes. But when land is being used for a profit purpose, then it is taxable.
Sure.
And so, and that, even though you're not making a profit through the arrangement with the adjacent landowner, the adjacent landowner is making a profit. And so that's kind of where maybe in the future you could somehow come to an agreement to be compensated for that arrangement.
Sure.
Commissioner Avery?
I would suggest that you go to the land, the person using the land, and negotiate with him about paying the property tax himself, since he is using it for profit-making
Sure.
activities.
And we can talk to him. And again, the reason the land is, I mean, last year we had to deal with all the weeds, and is outrageous to take care of all the weeds. And we have, we're volunteering to help the community, and we don't have the skills and the equipment to do that. So as soon as he said, he will take care of the weeds for us, we said, yeah, that's fine.
So to kind of piggyback on what Commissioner Avery was saying, is that if you could somehow negotiate a rent
Sure.
that would cover your property taxes, there wouldn't be an issue moving forward. And that's common. I mean, that's what most nonprofits would do, is go ahead and just charge rent to cover, because we know that site is a large area. And right now, only a part of it is being utilized because of the nature of a new cemetery. So, okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Hesso? Okay, thank you. Anyone here wishing to testify in the neutral capacity on this application? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing for the 2018 exemption application.
Next is number 7, action on review of 2018 exemption application.
Okay, entertain a motion.
I will move we approve the action which removes a portion of the tax exemption on the property.
I am not willing to second this at this time, because I think we need to give the person who was just up here an opportunity to see if they can negotiate with the user of this property. I don't know if the assessor's office has anything to say about that or not.
I would say that's not an appropriate thought. The use of the property dictates it's taxable, period. And how they negotiate who ultimately pays those taxes, it's between the owner and the tenant in this case. But from our perspective, the use of the property dictates that it should be taxable.
Okay, so
I
I'm
was
going,
not suggesting that it wouldn't be
okay,
taxable.
I'm going to stop right now. I'm going to make a second of that motion. Now we can open it up for discussion. So now Commissioner Avery and Mr. Gaines.
Yeah, I was not suggesting that it would be, it wouldn't be taxed. I was simply suggesting that perhaps we could find another way for the tax to be paid that would not punish the community that owns the land.
And I think that's a matter between those two parties and not for the county. That's good.
But I am suggesting that we can make that decision. You are suggesting no?
I'm not aware of how that would happen. It's either taxable or exempt, and the tax bill is going to go out,
We'll
and
have
anyone may
We
pay it.
have a great legal mind right here.
I need a moment to look in the statutes just to double check before I say who has the authority to do what. So if I could just have a moment, I'll go look at those.
Okay, we'll go ahead and hold this item for a few items. Go ahead and go on to agenda item number 8, Mr. Clerk.
This is appeal penalty and interest on personal property from West Plains LLC.
We've got two of these before you. The statutes are very clear that there's no leeway to waive or reduce penalties as long as they were correctly calculated and imposed. And I think both of these are just begging for mercy due to certain circumstances, and the statute does not allow for the board to waive or reduce those penalties. So our recommendation is denial.
So the first one was West Plains, and so that would be the one that went to Turk.
I'm sorry?
The first one, what was the circumstances around that appeal?
I have no idea why they included some correspondence relating to Turk. It does not relate to this issue at all.
Okay, yeah.
I move we deny the appeal from West Plains LLC.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to deny the appeal of penalty and interest on personal property from West Plains LLC. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Avery,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. 9 is appeal penalty and interest on personal property from Southern Carlson.
Exact same situation here. We would recommend denial.
These are essentially cases where people are unhappy with the assessment.
They're I'll say begging for mercy due to some administrative issues that they had within their organization, and
Which is not a county
we're
issue.
sorry, we won't ever do it again, and the statute's just very black and white.
I move we deny the appeal from Southern Carlson.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to deny the appeal of penalty and interest on personal property from Southern Carlson. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Avery,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. Number 10 is public comment. Those wishing to speak on items relating to County Board of Equalization business, not on the agenda meeting so at this time.
Okay, anyone from the public wishing to speak on an item related to the Board of Equalization, but not on the agenda? Okay, seeing none, can we revisit item number 7, the action on review of the 2018 exemption applications? This is the county attorney office prepared to, and I guess the answer is, does state statute allow us to take any other action other than?
So essentially it says, so under 77-202.02, property that's taxable, exempt status, the application, hearing, and the whole procedure. So the County Board of Equalization, after a hearing, and based on what the recommendation from the county assessor, and also what it's heard in the public testimony, they can grant or withhold the tax exemption from the real property. or tangible personal property on the basis of the law and regulations promulgated by the tax commissioner. With that, I believe you can, if you'd like to hold it a week, we can look into it a little further to determine exactly what can be done, if anything, in relation to them negotiating or them not.
Okay, I think with the approval of the board, would you like to withdraw your motion?
But we're discussing an agreement between the organization and the landowner, and whether or not they want to come to an agreement on a possible reimbursement for the use of the land. I don't see the county as a party to that agreement.
No, you would not be. Like Scott said, that would be a separate issue. But so yeah, that's a separate issue. But if there was something else that Bill was trying to do, that I would need to look into. If it's just down to whether, if you guys will approve it, whether if they have a negotiated agreement between them, then I would do what Scott said. And
Just one other question. Scott, what brought this to our attention at this point in time? And is there a prorated system throughout the year?
An appraiser was out there in the area doing a review and discovered the beans.
Okay.
And there's no proration in any tax. And I think that, just to be clear here, the issue is the property subject to property tax partially or not at all? And our recommendation is it should be subject to tax, that portion of it. As to who pays the tax, from where I sit, the county never gets involved in saying, here, the tax is on the property, and who actually pays those taxes. We can't dictate who has to write a check for those taxes.
Right.
Anyone may pay the taxes on any property.
Right.
That's just to be clear. I'm not saying, yeah, you got to make them pay it. We're saying taxable or exempt, and then they decide how the taxes get paid. So that's,
yeah, that's
the last issue.
I'm sorry?
Similar to the last issue with the other testifier. Similar, not exact.
I'm sorry, Bill, I couldn't.
The action that you're talking about is similar to one that we actually had passed over because it was, we wanted to have more time to talk about it.
I'm not following where you're at, Bill. I think we're still talking about the cemetery property.
That's what I am,
Right,
yeah.
right. That's what I'm referring to as well.
Okay.
Well, so I think to the point is what we were talking about earlier with the president of the association, that again it's the land use is what the question is that what's being done is that on a part of this land there is a for-profit activity being taken, and so we as a county, we don't get involved on who pays those taxes,
right?
Because at the end it's the responsibility of the landowner. And so if the landowner wants to make arrangements with a sub-lessee or a rentor to cover those taxes, that is definitely something I know that I'm familiar with a number of arrangements where you can have a triple net lease.
Very common.
Very common, where landowners don't pay the property taxes.
Right.
The actual rentor actually is notified of property taxes and pay them directly to the county or to any other political subdivision.
Right.
And so that's not really where we get involved. So
The issue is, should the property be subject to tax, period?
Right, and like I said, based on Scott's recommendation and based on what you've heard, that's what your authority is to decide. But aside from that, if Bill's only issue is the side agreement, I would not suggest.
Well, and if the activity, farming itself is not what is taxable, it's that the farming is revenue generating for profit. If a nonprofit were to use the farm for other,
I would say agriculture in itself is not an exempt use, and even if they're growing the crops, it wouldn't make any difference. Right. Agriculture isn't a cemetery use, which is what their exemption was granted on.
Perfect. Thank you. for that clarification.
But there's no reason we can't defer action.
What do you help to, what information will be gained in a deferral that will be of value to us?
An opportunity to talk to the person appealing and explain to them what they might do to mitigate the impact of this property tax.
And I think we've already communicated that. I mean, that's something that we encourage the landowner to have those conversations with the adjoining landowner.
Do you gentlemen have additional questions about what's going on?
Yeah, come on up and. Can you wait till you get the microphone? Sure. That's okay.
Good morning.
Your microphone and sign in.
Sure.
Still under the public hearing?
Oh, yep, this is not part of the public hearing, so this is just, we're on the agenda item number 7, so if you just want to introduce yourself.
Sure. My name is Greg Greeter, and I'm an attorney in town, and I've represented the United Yazidi Community of America on several different issues, including their 501c3 status, which, you know, they've worked hard to obtain and are trying to, you know, stay within all the bounds. I'm sure that Khalaf Hesso had mentioned this, the president of the organization, but I understand you're saying there's some agricultural use going on there, but I feel that the intent of the tax exempt statuses is, are they doing this for profit? And their agreement with the farmer that planted these roughly 15 acres of beans is just that he would spray weeds and, you know, help maintain the property, so that they're not really making a profit on it. And unfortunately, if they get taxed on it, you know, then they have to use exempt funds to pay for that. So, you know, it would be kind of a negative for the organization, because now they have to come up with actual out-of-pocket, you know, real dollars they've raised to pay someone to spray weeds and help maintain the property. So I guess I just wanted to make sure that you know, that everybody understands their intent is not, first of all, their intent is not to make a profit on this, and second order, they're clearly not. This gentleman is just doing as kind of a in return for him being able to use the land. And so I think there can be a distinction made there. I mean, if there can't be, then their alternative is to plant this back to grass and call it some kind of a sanctuary, and then nobody gets the benefit, because then they still have to hire someone to take care of that. So it's just going to be it's unfortunately going to be a defeat to them for their purpose of, you know, getting their tax exempt status in the first place. So I mean, I understand it's a little bit of a gray area. I understand, sure, I'm from the farm. Soybeans are agriculture. I get that. I'm not saying it's not being used for an agricultural purpose, but it's not being used for a for-profit purpose, and it's really, you know, helping them to meet their budget with, you know, since they are a tax exempt entity, and I think that greater purpose is something that's recognized simply since it's not for profit. No one's, you know, I guess maybe the farmer's making some profit, but that's, once again, that's a different issue, not for you guys to decide today. So, well,
but in reality, to your point, the farmer is probably selling those soybeans, and it probably is making a profit, and that's why, while the intention, and I understand that there was no intention by the Yazidi group to make a profit or to do anything that would jeopardize their tax exempt status, which this really doesn't affect their tax exempt status.
I would agree with that.
It just affects the taxation of the land that they use and they own. And so, but because, and that's something that they can, moving forward, you know, enter into an arrangement with any farmer who wants to use that land, you know, to charge them a rent, and that rent could cover their property taxes. But as the county assessor's office has indicated, that because there is a for-profit activity being done on part of this land, that part of the land, it needs to be taxed, and the property taxes need to be collected. Now, who pays that?
Sure.
I mean, there's a lot of arrangements that could be made that could somehow reassign the obligation to a third party, in this case, the adjacent farmer who's planting and harvesting the beans that probably will be sold. Hopefully, they're able to get them out of the field this year.
Right?
But I don't know what the soil conditions are out there. But yeah, but I think and it really is, I think, an unintended consequence.
I understand, and I guess the last comment I would have is just that since that was something that just happened this year, perhaps there could be a waiver for this year, and then they could have that, they could have a written agreement next year, and they could provide evidence to the board and let them know. But as it stands this year, for them to be paying the tax, I think sort of flies in the face of the purpose of their tax exempt status, and them not understanding how this may work out. So just consideration. Thank you.
And it does seem, 15, 16 acres, it's just for future growth. I mean, that's, using 1 acre now, 16 acres is a lot of land.
Well, they're using about 4 to 5 because they have a parking lot set aside and an acre or two. I'm not sure exactly the part that's fenced in, and they're planning to build a public restroom facility and a activity center, et cetera.
Right.
So
as
to continue
as the facility grows, then less and less property tax will be owned on the part used for agricultural purposes.
And that's true. And I'm assuming, folks, that if they decided to try to avoid this altogether, they just plant it back to grass and make it a sanctuary out there, then that eliminates the issue.
Well, and I just want to point out to the other items on the agenda, item number 3, there was a notice of taxable status for a public school, and a very similar issue. The public school owns the land, however, it's not being used for educational purposes. It's being used by probably an adjacent farmer who's using that land to grow crops. And so even though that public school is tax exempt, that they can engage in an activity that is, for profit, and therefore the land that is associated with it is taxable. And the same thing goes for the other, the proposed change in exemption status. Yeah.
I can understand that side of the argument.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Any other discussion? Commissioner Avery?
I don't think I'm supporting a waiver. What I think we ought to do is set this aside, defer action on it today until we can have an opportunity to speak with the applicant about whether or not they can put together a legal arrangement so you don't have to pay that property tax, but you'd have to work with the person who is using the land. And that would be appealing to me because it gives the applicant a little bit more time to work on a resolution.
Commissioner Shore,
Well, out of respect to a fellow commissioner, I will agree to a 1-week deferral, but I can't imagine anything I'm going to hear that'll change my mind, and I will make the same motion next week.
Okay, so you're withdrawing your motion?
Yes.
Okay, I guess I'll withdraw my second, and we will hold this item 1 week. Any other items, Mr. Clerk? I think we can entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We might want to use
Do you want to take a second?
Oh, yeah, a second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. Please call the roll.
Avery,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0.
Okay, we are adjourned.